Today, Ilia Topuria places all of his chips on the table and says he's all in when he snatches Alexander Volkanovski's belt at the press conference. And what about Ian Gary, who shined at the media day but failed horribly at the UFC press conference? And what about Henry Cejudo? Is him hedging his bet on retiring if he loses? Could he be trying to tell us something? Could he be coping? I'm not sure. All of this and much, much more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back in it. Your boy Matt is back out here on these internet streets. I apologize that I've been a little bit absent here recently, but if you've been following my videos, had some medical family issues going on, but nevertheless, your boy is back. I'm going to be here all the time, bringing you the news, bringing you what's going on in this MMA sphere. You know what I'm saying? Like the Las Vegas sphere. This is the MMA sphere. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be better than ever. I'm hitting you off multiple days a week. Pause. I hope you ready. Pause again. So, today's video, we're going to get into just a couple of my final thoughts, if you will. My final thoughts before UFC 298, which goes down this Saturday night. Here's the thing, man. Let's start with Ilia Topuria. Off the top, off the TOP. Ilia Topuria. I know everyone is clowning him and everyone keeps comparing him to Conor McGregor, and they're doing side-by-side photos of Conor holding the belt up that he stole from Jose Aldo and Ilia holding up the belt that he took from Alexander Volkanovski. Here's the thing. When I'm watching this press conference, bro, shout out to Ilia Topuria because he's doing his thing. Because you can compare him to Conor. You can see all these things. And Volk called him a Conor wannabe at the UFC press conference. But at the end of the day, man, he's getting noticed. And he's getting noticed not in a super negative way. Yeah, he might get a lot of negative comments because he's being compared to Conor McGregor. But he's not saying crazy things like Kobe was saying about Leon Edwards' father, who is deceased. You know, he's not saying borderline, phobic things like Sean Strickland might say at different events. Ilia is just out there, and whether you say he's stealing Conor McGregor's mojo, whatever, he's out there, he's being noticed, he's being talked about. And if he goes out there and he defeats Alexander Volkanovski on Saturday night, he is going to be well on his way to being a huge star. Not only would he have defeated, the person that a lot of people believe, a lot of newer fans believe is the GOAT featherweight. Not only would he go down as defeating possibly one of the greatest fighters ever in UFC history. Not only did he call his shot and beat this man, but he has an entire nation behind him, being Spain/Georgia. And, I mean, that is Conor McGregor-esque. So it's like, bro, I'm all for it. Shout out to Ilia Topuria for doing his thing. I mean, also, the fact that when you're talking about a champion, like, look at it like this. A champion in a combat sport, whether it's boxing or whether it's mixed martial arts, your belt, it's kind of like your lady, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like your significant other, if you know what I'm talking about. That's like your lady, man. So when you out in public, right? Okay, let me just give you a little breakdown of where your boy Matt is from, you know what I'm saying? Take you to these Louisville streets, you know what I'm talking about? When you out with your lady, bro, you always, if you from where I'm from, you scanning the room. You looking around. You might go into a spot, go have some drinks. You might go to a club. You know what I'm saying? You might just go into a restaurant. But you walk in, you scan in the room. You're looking for people that you might know. You know what I'm saying? Folks you grew up with. Folks you might have broke bread with in the streets or whatever the case might be, right? So you scan in the room. Maybe you might see some people from, your church. See some people from your job, whatever walk of life you might be from. You know what I'm saying? You're looking around the room, you scanning. You also, number two, you're looking for people that might be looking to do you dirty. You know what I'm talking about? You're looking for people that might be pocket watching. They might be looking at your wallet, trying to count your funds from a distance. You know what I'm talking about? So you scan in the room. And you also looking for someone that's immediately going to help you. You're going into an establishment. You ready to spend some money. Who's going to help me? Who's the waiter? Who's the host? Who's going to give me my drinks? You know what I'm talking about? Now, with that being said, while you're in this space, if someone gets a little bit too close to your lady, you know what I'm saying, to your significant other, you know what I'm saying, we might have a problem. You know what I'm talking about? We just might have a problem. It could go down on a Saturday night, you know what I'm saying, on a Friday evening. It could go down in this, you know what I'm talking about? Chairs could be thrown. Tables could be pushed over, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, we out. We out like a thief in the night, because we don't stay around after altercations to get arrested, you know what I'm saying? We just do what we got to do and pew, pew, we gone. We ain't gonna stick around and wait for somebody to get the, what happened here, and how I don't understand, why was this table flipped over? Bro, I'm already in the car with my lady. We riding down the street. And that's what it is. We ain't even worried about it. We moving on to the next establishment. You know what I'm saying? So in fighting, what Ilia Topuria did was he snatched Alexander Volkanovski's significant other, his lady. That when he snatched his belt. And what I saw is, even though Volk is, shout out to Volk for leaning into being old man Volk, and it was a great comedy. He had the awesome promo commercial, and now he dresses old man Volk for the UFC press conference, and it was outstanding. He was acting like he was asleep. He was kind of standing up like an old man. I loved all of that. All of that was cool. It shows Volkanovski's got a sense of humor, and he ain't tripping. He's confident in him being one of the greatest fighters, if not the greatest fighter in the world. But with that being said, when Ilia Topuria snatched his belt, Volk, as you saw him jump up, he wasn't jumping up like an old man at that moment. He jumped up because he was at a disadvantage. You took something that belonged to me, that means everything to me, that puts food on my family's table, and you're holding it over my head. That put him at a disadvantage, the same way Conor McGregor put Jose Aldo at a disadvantage. So it's just something interesting to see. That was a slight, ever so slight, mental edge, so to speak. It wasn't a checkmate. But it was a check. If you know chess and you understand what I'm saying, that was a check. It was something to let you know, like, hey, I see you. You're not in checkmate yet, but I see you. I got you cornered. And if you don't move correctly, it's going to be a checkmate. So shout out to Ilia Topuria. Shout out to Alexander Volkanovski. Let's move on. Let's talk about Ian Gary. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about Ian Gary, the WAG man. You know what I'm saying? Ian Gary goes out there a few days ago at the UFC Media Day and shines. You know what I'm saying? He's firing off thoughtful rounds at Sean Strickland. Thoughtful rounds at Kobe Covington. What are thoughtful rounds, Matt? Thoughtful rounds are, he's not just going out here throwing jokes. He's just not going out here serving people, clowning people. He's actually putting logic into the things that he's saying about them as to why they act the way they do on the microphone, why they act the way they do in public. I thought it was a good showing by Ian Gary. I thought it was a good showing for how he was talking about how he deals with the media and how he felt when he had to pull out of his last fight. Then you fast forward till yesterday, the UFC press conference on Thursday. And bro, he just did not deliver. Look, man, pick a side, bro. Either you're going to be the villain or you're going to be the hero. But whichever one you're going to be, Ian Gary, we need for you to own it, bro. And he gets up there on the, at the podium or at the press conference, and he kind of went at the fans. He kind of didn't. He didn't really say anything mean about Jeff Neal. He basically befriended him, which is cool. Talked about they had mutual respect. He'd shake his hand. Any man that stepped in the octagon with him, he'd shake his hand. But, bro, if anything, act the way that you acted at the media day. You know what I'm saying? Where you were really making a lot of sense. Get up there and make some sense. Instead, he let the moment just kind of eclipse him. And all anyone was really paying attention to was Ilia Topuria, Alexander Volkanovski, and the two men I'm about to talk about next. No one was really tripping on Ian Gary. And Jeff Neal is just he's a calm, collected, more soft-spoken kind of dude. He lets his hands, he lets his hands do the talking, you know what I'm talking about? So, I don't know what was up with Ian Gary. He can give the finger to the fans all you want, but at the end of the day, bro, you let the moment eclipse you. That was your moment to shine and get back some of that mustard, some of that vigor, you know what I'm saying, that you had built up at your previous fight that you had to pull out of. Nevertheless, that wasn't too good. Now let's move on to two other guys that shined at the press conference and been doing so all week. We got Henry Cejudo and Rob Dvalishvili. Here's the thing, man. Let's start with Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo earlier in the week made headlines by firing his close friend and longtime coach, Eric Albaicin. Captain Eric, I'll just call him Captain Eric because I don't want to mess up his name because I really, truly respect this man as a coach. Check his track record. Check the champions he's developed. The man is solid. He fires him on UFC unembedded, I'm sorry, I said unembedded. Embedded, sorry. It's early in the morning. Here's the thing. I know a lot of media members cover that and they were all up in arms and everything. At the end of the day, bro, who really knows if that was real or if that was fake? Because, I could definitely see a world where Henry Cejudo wanted to capture some headlines and possibly wanted Merab's team, Merab's coaches, to kind of be thrown off and kind of look at Henry Cejudo and be like, this guy, Merab, he just fired his coach, Merab. He doesn't know what's going on. He's going into this fight without his main coach. We got him, Merab. You know what I'm talking about? That Long Island crew over there with Merab. And it's like, get out of here. Sorry. Here's the thing, man. There's a world where Henry Cejudo might have did all of that on purpose, might have not really been real because he wanted Merab and Merab's team to be looking at him like, oh, Henry Cejudo's camp is in danger. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even have his main coach. He's firing him on TV. There could be a little beef there, whatever. It could be a little bit of mental gamesmanship because at times Henry Cejudo definitely will engage in mental warfare. So I didn't really put too much stock in it. Or he could have really got rid of Eric Albaicin. Or he could have got rid of Captain Eric and made it look like this. And then Captain Eric still comes out with him on fight night. Or Captain Eric could have already given him instructions and said, I'm not going to come out there with you on fight night. Still to make them think that you're in disarray. But here's what you're going to do in the fight. Who knows? But he made some headlines off of that. When you go into the press conference, Henry Cejudo was very subdued. He was very calm. He's very, he's very collected. Here's the thing. He's also kind of almost hedged his bets by saying if he loses, he will retire, which is always a red flag with a lot of fighters. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like, are you half in or you half out? You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't really pick up on the vibe as to where Henry Cejudo is at from the last time I saw him be in the press conference yesterday. I'm not sure if he's worried about the fight, if he's hedging his bets and talking about retiring because he kind of thinks, there's a good chance I'm going to go out there and get the brakes beat off of me for 3 rounds straight by Merab because he never stops. Or if he's got a secret, sometimes fighters have a secret, you know what I'm talking? It's a secret. Sometimes fighters kind of know, they can look at a fighter, they can pick out certain tendencies, and they know, I got this guy's number. I don't know if that's the case, but it was a different vibe for Henry Cejudo. Or maybe he was just enjoying the Ilia Topuria show. I'm not really sure. Merab, on the other hand, rose to the occasion. He's hyped at the press conference. He's pulling out the Mexican flag just to taunt Cejudo. He had the fan support. He had everyone behind him. He's talking about, he's on towards the title shot after beating Henry Cejudo. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Cejudo is going to rise to the occasion and how that's going to work out, or what Merab is going to do. Because, Merab is clearly the favorite. He's clearly the one that everybody's looking at thinking he should go out there and literally, keep dragging Henry Cejudo, pushing him back up against the fence and just kind of wrestling him up against the fence, and then eventually locking his hands and taking Henry Cejudo down. I know he's an Olympic champion. I know it's easier said than done, but Merab is an animal. But what if, who knows? But what if Henry Cejudo, what if Captain Eric, what if they do have a game plan? You know what I'm saying? Because they had a fairly decent game plan going in there against Aljo. Could have been a little bit of ring rust from Henry Cejudo. I'm not sure. Henry does deal with a lot of injuries, so I'm not sure. And that could also play a role here. But we're going to see what goes down on Saturday night. These were just a couple, few of my final thoughts that I had after watching a little bit of the media events this week. We're going to see what goes down. It's UFC 298. It goes down, I believe, in Anaheim this Saturday night. We're going to see, is it going to be the last fight for Henry Cejudo? Is it going to be the crowning of Merab, and he's going to go on to fight for the Bantamweight Championship eventually when Sean O'Malley quits ducking him? Are we going to see Ilia Topuria rise to the top of the heap at the featherweight division and dethrone Alexander Volkanovski, or is old man Volk going to go out there and tap dance all over Ilia Topuria for 5 rounds and humble the man? As well as, I still got Ian Gary going out there, Ian Machado Gary, I should say, going out there and defeating Jeff Neal. But maybe Jeff Neal knows a little secret. Maybe he's going to go out there and put them hands on him. We're going to find out. Goes down Saturday night, UFC 298. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know your picks for the main event. Don't forget about that co-main event. The Reaper, Robert Whittaker, stepping in there with Paulo Costa, the Eraser. So we're going to see, man. We're going to see how it goes down. And I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.